Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
Welcome back to the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? Today we are thinking about Bravo and the franchise Real Houses of Beverly Hills. I think I'm caught up, Tracy. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But I tell you, it's these last couple of weeks. It's been a lot of Erica, Sutton, Diana, and that Crystal.
Yeah, I think everyone's had moments, even Garcelle and Kyle. I say the one who's had the least moments, but from what I hear, they're coming up, would be Lisa Rinna. And a lot of that surrounding with her mom passing, and then her husband having his the Tom Brokaw role that he did for that. She's been doing a lot with that, but I think she's gonna make up for it from what I'm hearing. But yeah, so let's start with the Sutton Diana dynamic. Okay. They seemingly got off to a decent start,
which is usually par for the course when it comes to Sutton.
And it's going to be interesting to see your take on things, because from the Bravo sphere and the fans, they're not seeing things fully the way I see things. So it'll be interesting to see how you see things. Okay. So they started out in a good space, and then both of them sort of told things to each other where Diana was like, "I don't deal with the mess, and I don't give people a lot of chances, blah blah blah." And Sutton says, "Well, I don't take kindly to people yelling at me." And
while she's yelling in her face,
and then
listen to me.
Cut to the dinner table, and Sutton is having a moment.
Yes, she is.
And Diana's trying to come to her defense, and she came to her defense early when she said, I think Sutton says things, did she say like in a clumsy way or something like that, as if she doesn't mean any harm, but she's not that great with her words sometimes. And Sutton would say, yeah, I would acknowledge that. But she bites Diana's head off as she's once again trying to help, but as Diana said, she don't take kindly to that. And when they got ready to leave Mexico to go back on Diana's private plane, she kind of put Sutton in her place by kind of putting her in the timeout chair almost. She didn't let her sit where she wanted. And I think Sutton blew it a little out of proportion as she retold that story. But then they have, what's the next moment with them over the text? Yeah, because I think Diana is supposed to go to something, and she's not able to go. She lets them know she's sick or something. No, she sends out a text saying she was been put on bed rest. And it seemingly seemed like she was letting them know she wasn't going to go to Garcelle's birthday party. But she ends up showing up anyway, and Sutton pulls her aside to have a conversation, and Sutton was being messy to me, the way she started it out, like, you're supposed to be on bed rest, but so why are you here?
Not why are you here? You're gonna have to explain that.
Yes. And it's like, no, she's a grown woman.
Right.
She doesn't have to explain to you. And so Diana takes offense to it, and she's sarcastic kind of right back. And then she tries to tell her, hey, I kind of have had a miscarriage and it was not that long ago and I'm bleeding again. And then Sutton wants to be empathetic. If you just bit my head off, I don't care if you can empathize with my experience. Mm-hmm. That's what I took. But other people, I think, felt like, oh, now all is forgiven. Let's go ahead on and commiserate over this similar experience. That's not how it could have been for me. So I understood why it wasn't that way. I think Kyle being in the mix is probably what made it worse for the fans.
Bitter.
Yes. So yes. I think Kyle kind of compounded the situation to make people have empathy for Sutton. I ain't had no empathy for her, but I think others, that's probably why when you look at the polls, when they do like on Watch What Happens Live, people are still on Sutton's side.
There are a lot of fans that the tide is turning for Kyle. And a lot of people are, it's like when you're on a reality show
for so long,
mm-hmm. and then people begin to see this evolution or even have heard little rumors and things on the side and they just refuse to believe it about a person. And then you kind of start seeing it for yourself. The fans are seeing Kyle in another way.
I just think for her, just like most people, when you live your life in the public, you need to know when to step aside or when to transition, because I think it would have been good for her to transition off Housewives and do more acting or just focus on charity or something so that it could have been going out on top.
Right.
So to me, after, and I think we'll find the same thing for Kathy, that she may have stayed a season too long.
Yes.
But it would have been great for both of them mm-hmm. to have, after they had that successful sister season,
to just call it,
to just be like, let's call it. But they didn't. So you got to live with those choices. Yeah. And I'm not as mad as most people are at Kyle, because I see the insecure, I see that child still looking for attention. I still see that person in her, and I don't think there's a ton of malintent behind what she does.
She's
I
very
just think,
not aware.
Yes, that's more so. So I'm not as, I see her for who she is. I probably loved her more in the earlier seasons. Yes. Now I'm just like, I don't dislike her, but
I'm just ready for her to go.
I just wish, and I wanted her to go out on top, because I saw the dynamic and the desperation in her friendship with Lisa. Yeah. So I was glad to see her have some seasons without Lisa.
Absolutely.
But then I'm like, okay, she's done 10 years now. Because
the last 2-3 seasons with Lisa mm-hmm. was heart-wrenching. Mm-hmm. She was being punished. Okay, you're my friend. Carrot. Nope. Punish. Mm-hmm. It was just this constant. Mm-hmm. And she hung in there like no best friend ever could.
She did.
It was hard watching that.
She did.
And that is what caused me to begin disliking Lisa. Mm-hmm. And seeing what people were saying was true. She was the puppet master.
And I gave Lisa a tiny pass when she gave that peep into the friendship, as the friendship is 90% about Kyle and her being there for Kyle. However, you like to be that person. So
she needs the ammunition.
You like to be that person. That's why you find the sort of little fragile person in the group, and that's the person you use. Yeah. You know, because so it's like, I get it, but I don't feel sorry for you because of that. So, but anyway, as we look at the way things are playing out, Garcelle is having a lot of moments in her confessional and on screen, face to face with the ladies. She is speaking her truth left and right. She is not biting her tongue.
Last season, that's what they told her to do. And she is showing up this season, not holding back. We're together as a group. Let's bring this out.
She's saying it. Now, I think that Erica really kind of got off light when she approached her about the son. And she focused more on the pills and the drinking as opposed to, if you ever, because she could have really read her quite for that.
Time allowed her feelings she vented enough to different people that she talked
I agree.
to.
By the time but then the fact that you're going to start the evening, I realize I can only have one drink, and then here you go, drink after drink after drink, because she might have left it alone from that one conversation if she didn't see her repeating that. And I understand. I know a lot of people didn't like the Dorit, Mauricio, PK, Kyle moment when they talked about it. Should have been zero laughter. Should have been zero laughter there. And it should. It should have been zero laughter because there's a 14-year-old young man involved. That's why it should have been zero laughter.
Oh, you're talking about that. I thought last season when they were talking about should he get the brain or the ankle?
Oh no. Full on laughter. That's one of my favorite moments. Yeah.
But
this one
with the child,
that should have been zero laughter involved. I agree, 100%.
There.
And you can be happy that Erica is doing what she's doing without
the crying, because it was just tears.
Yeah, but I mean without saying she was wrong. You need to call her out to say that was wrong.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, Erica, you have your fun, you have your moments, but you got to control it to a point where you're not being disrespectful to somebody's child.
So speaking on that, when you realize you messed up, you just go on social media and you acknowledge it. Okay. So apparently Kyle was lambasted for it, laughing and not pulling it in. And instead of, it's not an apology when you say, something was wrong, and then you preference it with a conjunction. But then wait a minute, then you don't really mean it. And that's basically what she did on her Instagram. She tried to justify that they had, and Erica's been through this and blah, blah, blah. It's like,
but we saw all that and we didn't like it, so why would you double down on that?
Exactly.
See, that's why I'm not on social.
And that's the that's the reason.
That's why I don't follow them and look at all that stuff, because
her and the original girls that have been there the longest are being labeled the mean girls.
Yeah.
They really are. Yeah. And their behavior, it's almost like they have made this pact. No matter what, we're going to stick together. Because why Sutton seemed less concerned about the break-in with Dorit. Remember how she was alleged? Yeah. You're not getting your contract when everybody else is getting their contract. And then all of a sudden, your house gets broken in. Bravo, if you want to film this, where's the contract? And I'll let you come in. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying.
The reason why unless she has been hiding her acting skills, which I don't think she has, I do see a traumatized person. I see her being triggered. She would have had to done a ton of research on PTSD to be triggered in the way that she's triggered.
I do believe that it's something that truly did occur, but I don't like how they have created this circle amongst themselves and they can do no wrong. And it's like everybody else is on the outside. And I remember when Garcelle, she talked about that the first season, how she did not feel like she belonged.
But just like they had theirs, they quickly created theirs. And and now it has grown.
You're right.
So
you're right.
So it's like
you're right.
When when you don't feel like you're going to be a part of it. Because her and Sutton paired up, the unlikeliest pair.
They really are.
And they went ahead on and I think that's part of why Crystal and Sutton kind of had buried the hatchet, because, you know, power in numbers.
So let's talk about Crystal a little bit.
Must we? So with Crystal and so many things. So I think we previously talked about her and the whole thing with Sutton and what was the moment and did she say something worse and all that. So I want to say that all fences got mended there, because now the focus for Crystal is dealing with her eating disorder. And when Kyle was asking her about it, because she has her own history, she shared that she's not a binge eater, which I would say, I'm going to say that maybe I didn't fully listen, because she doesn't binge, but she does purge. So when she's sharing this with
Erica. So let me get this, because I'm trying to understand. So do you use laxatives?
No, I thought we just use laxatives for that. I'm like, okay, so you are a low-key purger too, ma'am. When you feel like you have overdone it and you feel bad about it, you too are a
come
purger.
out that end than
the
other
end. But you like to vomit it out.
Oh, that was just too much. It's like somebody get the pills
and Crystal
and
was
the alcohol.
Trying.
Yeah.
She was trying to not be like, don't add to my arsenal.
Yes. It could have been, I didn't know about that. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, that was like, okay. So, yeah. So,
but you know, the strange thing I find about Crystal, she's like this chameleon. Last year, she showed up, this tough Asian girl, you know, sitting across the table. I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't do that. You couldn't do that to me. And now all of a sudden, she's this mushy sponge. If you look at her the wrong way, she's teary-eyed. And which Crystal are you?
I wouldn't say that she was doing the tough exterior fully because that's who she wanted to show up as. I would say that that was kind of...
do you think we're seeing a real version of who she is?
I think, remember, she's young. I don't think Crystal fully knows who she is herself. I think she's still finding her footing. And I think that's part of why she probably had issues in her girl groups, because she's probably drawn to strong, powerful people and personalities. And when you do that, sometimes you end up taking on some of that persona, because I mean it can be kind of intoxicating. It can be kind of, and so I think Crystal is still trying to find herself. I mean, she's married to a guy that's much older than her, who has a full career and successful, and I'm not sure what Crystal's life achievements are or what it is that she desires to do. I really don't know.
So the problem that I have with that is last season, she very much was buddying up with who she thought were the powerful women in the group. She was quite critical of Sutton in what she said, dressing her down. She doesn't know how to do this.
But Sutton was awkward.
I get that. I get that. But when you yourself are trying to find your well, right?
Yeah.
You are not the person to dress down somebody else.
Right.
In that moment, she should have been more quiet, observe, try to figure out what's going on. That was not her last season.
But I'll give her a little pass on that because this is a pretty dynamic group of women.
It really is.
So I will even, which is probably why Kathy Hilton was kind of trying to be her person to bring her into the group, kind of, sort of.
But you know, when they do that, because this isn't the first time one of the franchise did that. I think of the Real Housewives of New York when Jewel was bought in by Dorinda. Dorinda, behind the scenes, knew the fragileness of this woman. She knew what was going on in her marriage, and she knew about the eating. She knew all of this.
Things, yeah.
And to throw her to the wolves.
Yeah.
So remember, Jewel in no way showed us the cracks in her marriage until the end.
Right.
We're from old money, and she's talking about the house, and we've been dating. She had to put forth this front that she knew really was not what was going on.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's Crystal.
Right.
But I'm saying if you don't know who you are, don't go on this show pretend, because ultimately the veil, like the wizard, it's going to come back, and we're going to really see who you are. And is it going to be something flattering or is it not? So that's my problem with Crystal.
And I think that obviously it was worth the risk for her. So I don't know if
we'll see, because my understanding with Crystal is that it was said that last season she really didn't have a storyline, and she didn't bring anything to it. This year it was like, if you want to come back,
you got to open up more. You got to share more about yourself. And I guess she's trying to do that, but
I think using your eating disorder is not the thing that you need to put out there on the table.
And the thing is, when you put that out there, then you got to be ready for whatever else comes with it. And history, if we look at her history, I would say that she may not be ready for that.
I agree.
But I agree with the women saying whatever you have been doing professionally for helping you with this ain't been working. So connect with the real deal if you're going to really put that out there, because to keep talking about it and struggling with it and not have done the work or connect with something else that might work, that's not going to look good either. So I'm wishing her success on this journey that she's on, hoping she does not regret sharing it and opening that part of herself up. But let's talk a little about Diana and her not seemingly being received that well by the fans either. I don't know if it's her wealth that turns people off, her seemingly nonchalantness about stuff.
Almost like she can't bother to actually be a part of anything or anyone.
She's over it before she even arrives, kind of thing. I don't know, and I mean, she just had some things, like when she said what's an outlet, they bring the clothes to me and all that. And so it's like, we're used to the money and all of that, but hers is just having the people go before she arrives. And, so I don't know if that part of it is too much for them, along with her being, that way. It's something, but I understand why she doesn't like Sutton. I understand why that rift is there. And I'm not 100% on Sutton's side. I think they both could have handled it differently. And I get Sutton feeling like, but if you saw the way they hugged, she did not really hug Sutton back at Garcelle's party. She just, allowed Sutton to hug her.
She told us her truth.
Yeah.
You get 2 chances.
Yeah.
And Sutton had it.
And she was, I agree.
But
to me, I'm like, Sutton, why are you surprised that she is not feeling you when you're going to come after her?
We had this conversation about Sutton.
Yes,
about
we did.
Her background and the privilege.
We did.
So if you're dealing with someone who is her too, unaware of themselves,
yes, she is.
then clearly, you could be sending off all the wrong signals, and you don't know that this person's not really receiving what you're sending out.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I would say is that Garcelle is so loyal that I don't think she calls Sutton out enough for the
she
things
reminds
that she
me
does.
of Yolanda and what's her name? The tall
Brandy.
How she,
or even Lisa and Brandy until Brandy slapped her.
yes. But Yolanda was a real friend.
Okay.
Lisa was using.
I would get that. Yes. I would say so.
Yeah. But I also think that Garcelle really understands Sutton. And that's the reason she's able to overlook a lot of her behavior, because she says Sutton is harmless, and she'll say that Sutton is harmless, and you're making a big deal out of this because that's the way.
But people still have feelings.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly.
And the reason I say she's so loyal is if you look at the Denise situation. And how she was really disappointed that Denise did not come to her party.
Because she showed up for Denise.
She showed up for Denise, and Denise did not show up back. And so that's why I said I get that why she gives Sutton those passes, because that's just the kind of good friend and person she is, which is admirable. But you still gotta, I would, even in private, if she would, even when it's just the two of them, if she would be like, okay, now, girl, if
I think that's one of the things Lisa Rinna realized, but she also realized how she's not quite sure how to get back to that.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, but that's what I would say when it comes to Beverly Hills. The dynamics, there are definitely two groups of friends, and I thought it was funny when Kyle was like, what do you mean I jump ship? Are we all on the same ship? I'm good with everybody, And it's like, well, so that's how it would be nice if it could be Kyle, but y'all ain't there. So it's definitely two different camps. So we will keep watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and see what new ventures and dynamics and feuds come out of it, and see if Erica can figure out her pills and her alcohol and see what happens next on Crystal's journey and what happens with the trips, because we know there's a trip or two coming up, and I don't know if it's one or two, but at least one that I hear is just going to be filled with a lot of drama. So let's keep watching, and we will check back in with you all to talk about The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and so much more. Make sure that you subscribe, make comments, and share this W.A.I.T channel with your friends. Bye-bye for now.